Bonjour mes amis, ça va? In our last lesson, we learned two ways of asking how people are. Comment allez-vous and comment vas-tu? One formal and one informal. Another way of asking this, usually in an informal context, is ça va? We can answer this using expressions similar to the ones we used the last time. Très bien, merci, very well, thank you. Assez bien, pretty well. Comme ci, comme ça, so, and so on. So, now you know another way of greeting people in French, and we'll use this at the beginning of our sessions from here on. Et maintenant, mes amis, nous allons parler des nombres. Now we're going to take a look at numbers. Let's take a look at the numbers 0 through 9 and learn about their pronunciation.
Zéro. Un. Deux. Trois. Quatre. Cinq. Six. Sept. Huit. Neuf.
Let's go back and listen to the pronunciation of each one, and we'll pause to talk about its pronunciation.
Zéro.
The number zéro has what we call an aspirated R. And an aspirated R simply means that it's an R in which we feel air passing through the throat. And it's very much like saying the word air. So in French, the letter R, air, sounds and feels much that way when we say zéro. So air for the letter R makes aspirated R in zéro.
Un.
The number un for one creates a nasal sound, which we've seen before. If you say the word huh in English, you'll replicate something like this sound. So from huh, again we get a vibration in the area of the nose, which is very much like what we have in the number one, which is un in French.
Deux.
Deux, the number two, is a vocal vowel. So again, we won't hear vibration or feel vibration in the nose area, but rather further down in the throat. It's much like the beginning of the word design. So we have design. If we leave off the end of the word design, we would just keep de and have the number two.
Trois.
The number trois, three, has yet another aspirated R. So just like we pronounced zéro with air passing through the throat for the letter R, we also have trois with aspirated R, again air passing through the throat.
Quatre.
The number quatre for four, again, has an aspirated R. To pronounce these two syllables together, you can think of the word cat in English and then make the R sound in French, so quatre, quatre.
Cinq.
The number cinq is yet another nasal vowel, so a little bit different from un. It's a slightly higher nasal vowel, un, and so we pronounce cinq, again feeling a vibration in the area of the nose rather than down in the throat.
Six.
The number six is a pretty simple one. It's like saying the word sí in Spanish and then adding an S sound to the end of the word, so we get six.
Sept.
Set is another one that's fairly simple. The only thing we need to make sure we do is clearly pronounce the T at the end. It's very much like the word S-E-T, set, in English. So again, set. Notice that the P is not pronounced. It's essentially a silent letter. So again, we get the sound set.
Huit.
The pronunciation of the number huit is very simple. It's essentially pronounced like the English word wheat for the grain. So as long as you can say wheat in English, you can also say wheat in French.
Neuf.
And for the number 9, neuf, is a fairly simple sound as well. If you think of the word nefarious, which has NEF at the beginning, if again you just take the beginning of that word, neuf, and leave off the rest, you'll have the correct sound. So instead of nefarious, leave off the end of the word and you will have neuf. Now, let's test out how well you've remembered these numbers. If you need to review them again, just reverse the video to see the last section. To see them written down, open a new window in your browser and see Chapitre 1, Liste de vocabulaire, and Les nombres cardinaux, the cardinal numbers. You can also listen to them there by clicking on the speaker icon. Pause this video now if you need time to get that page opened. We'll practice the numbers 0 to 9 now, using telephone numbers. Listen to the following phrase and see if you can copy down the phone number at the end. Mon numéro de téléphone, c'est le, means my telephone number is. Go ahead and repeat the phrase for pronunciation. Mon numéro de téléphone, c'est le. Okay, now try to copy down the phone number I give you. Here we go. Mon numéro de téléphone, c'est le 2 4 0 6 2 9 7 8 0 7. I'll repeat it again. Mon numéro de téléphone, c'est le 2 4 0 6 2 9 7 8 0 7. So, how did you do? Did you get 2 4 0 6 2 9 7 8 0 7? If not, reverse the video and take another listen. Let's have you try it now. Pause the video and say your phone number starting with the phrase Mon numéro de téléphone, c'est le. Vas-y, go ahead. Now we'll use the same numbers to practice telling time. Take a look at the following video and listen to the expressions used.
Quelle heure il est? Il est 1h. 2h. 3h. 4h. 5h. 6h. 7h. 8h. 9h.
Now let's listen again. Pay careful attention to the Z sound that happens between the words 2h, 3h, and 6h. In French, this Z sound is called a liaison, which is a French word for link or connection. It's the sound that happens when an X or an S comes before a vowel, as in 2h, 3h, and 6h. But wait, you're thinking, the letter H isn't a vowel? Well, in French, when H is the first letter of a word, it's a silent letter, which means that in words like and horizon, the first sound we pronounce is the vowel after the H, the O in and the O in horizon, and the EU in heure. So in 2h, 3h, and 6h, the liaison links or connects the two words because X and S come before a vowel sound. Again, all because of the silent H. Now let's listen again to the hours up through 9 o'clock, and listen carefully to 1h and 9h.
Quelle heure il est? Il est 1h. 2h. 3h. 4h. 5h. 6 heures, 7 heures, 8 heures, 9 heures.
So, if the number that comes after 0 is 1, why do we say 1 heure? That's because the number 1, unlike the rest of the numbers we've learned, has both a masculine and a feminine version. And just like some adjectives we know, the feminine version gets an E added. So masculine 1 is 1, and feminine 1 is, you guessed it, une. And we use une because the word in French for hour, heure, is feminine. So instead of 1 heure, we say 1 heure. Finally, we know that the number 9, neuf, ends with an F, but it also changes when it comes before the word heure. Its F sound changes to a V sound, and we say 9 heures. Pause the video now and practice the hours from 1 to 9, and notice that again, we're using our verb être and the expression il est. So, il est 1 heure, il est 2 heures, il est 3 heures, il est 4 heures, il est 5 heures, il est 6 heures, il est 7 heures, il est 8 heures, il est 9 heures. Now, pause the video and you try it. Finally, let's see if you can recognize the time of day when you hear it. Take a look at the clocks on the screen, and as you hear each hour, point to it on your screen. Pause the video between each one if you need extra time. Il est 1 heure. Il est 3 heures. Il est 4 heures. Il est 2 heures. Il est 5 heures. Il est 9 heures. Il est 6 heures. Il est 8 heures. Il est 7 heures. Bien, mes amis, when you're ready, move on to the next video segment where we'll practice l'alphabet, the alphabet. À bientôt!